Good evening. The Monday, December 4th, 2017 Board of Commissioners meeting is now in session. The Reverend Kim Farabee is kind enough to come this evening and give us the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could all rise.
Let us bow our heads. Father, we come before you tonight. We thank you for another opportunity. God, we ask that your blessings will be upon us as we make decisions for the betterment of this county. We ask, God, that you'll give us wisdom and that you'll give us guidance. In your name we do pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, Reverend Farabee. First order of business tonight is the election of chair and vice chair. And with that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Board of Commissioners, by the general statute of the state of North Carolina, the first meeting in December, county governments are required to organize or reorganize themselves. This being your first meeting in December, I will open the floor for nominations of chairman for the Currituck County Board of Commissioners.
Mr. Scanlon, 1 year ago tomorrow, I had the honor of nominating Bobby Hannick as the chairman of the Board of Commissioners. I know there was skepticism of a newbie serving as chairman, and I think there was even more skepticism over the perceived agenda of a new board. Under Mr. Hannick's leadership, our board has worked hard to serve the citizens of Currituck County. We have taken positions that have not always been popular. We have made changes that not everyone agrees with. And we have probably done things that have made people scratch their heads. But everything that we have done in the last year, it was all done with one thing in mind: what is best for the citizens of Currituck County, nothing more. Yes, there are still things each one of us would like to see accomplished, and yes, there are times when we don't all agree on everything. But I think we can all agree that Mr. Hannick has served our board and the county well, and I would like to nominate Bobby Hannick as chairman of the Currituck County Board of Commissioners.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to election of vice chair.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to keep Mr. Payment in as our vice chair. I think he's done a good job for us, and no reason to rock the boat.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Now, you've graciously both accepted this again, right? Because now you know what you're in for.
Correct. Moving on, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
I do have a couple of items to add. One item under new business would be request for extension of preliminary plat in Sligo Preserve. We would put that under item D under new business. And under board appointments, Commissioner Etheridge would like to add a reappointment for a planning board and a reappointment for a board of adjustment. With that, I'll call for a motion.
A motion for approval with those updates.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on, public hearings. Public hearing in action. I'm sorry. I missed public comment. I apologize. Moving on to public comment. Public comments is, we try to keep it about 3 minutes. If you would please be respectful of the other folks in the audience. We've got a few folks signed up this evening. With that, I will call George Barlow. If you could please state your name and address when you come to the podium. Thank you.
Hi, George Barlow, 2323A, Sand Fiddler, Corova Beach. Thank you for letting me come up and talk about a problem that we have. It's concerning parking on vacant lots at Corova. My wife and I own a lot with 4 other couples that we use to go back and forth to the mainland on. And we can see a lot of problems if originally I think the discussion was just for 2 parked vehicles on a vacant lot. Well, with a total of 5 of us, we were sitting around the table wondering, number one, who's going to get the ticket? And number 2, how are we going to, decide who's going to be able to park here? Are we going to all just sit down and wrestle or what? So we would really appreciate if the board would allow any registered and insured vehicle to park at a vacant lot. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Barlow. Typically, the ticket goes to the person that comes up here and talks. So, you're it, man. You're it. You're it. You're it, buddy. If I could call April Bennett.
Good evening. My name's April Bennett. I reside on Bells Island in Currituck, North Carolina. I am the chairman and the founder of Currituck Kids, Inc., a locally based charity that benefits children in Currituck County. Along with me is our illustrious secretary, Melissa Reynolds. Our purpose here tonight is just to basically remind everybody about Currituck Kids and to thank our sponsors, contributors, and supporters. Summer of 2008, I stood here at this podium before a little bit of a different board, probably the same audience, and we pitched our first fundraiser. It was a lasagna dinner. A group of citizens, myself included, got together after observing some needs being unmet in the county for some of the children who are in households that are not able to satisfy those needs, basic needs. So we had a lasagna dinner that was highly successful. Following that and the community support, we formalized to organize Currituck Kids Incorporated. It's been almost 10 years. We are a 501c3 organization. We are composed of all volunteers. We have no salaried staff. Every single one of our volunteers does this because it's the right thing and because we are helping the children in our county. All money that we raise in this county stays in this county for our children. It doesn't go elsewhere. It stays right here. We partner with the school system and social services, and we provide funding in the form of grants. The needs are identified by the professionals who know these children, who work with them, her friends, teachers, counselors, that know these kids and they see the needs that are not being met at home. It's not the fault of the children that they cannot have these things to help them enhance their educational needs. So we try to help fill in the gaps. These children most of the time do not realize that their assistance is coming from a charity. That matters when it comes to dignity and respect, and we want these kids to feel good about themselves and not like they're getting a handout. They're getting a hand up. We like to look at it as a boost. I don't want to go overboard, but again,
Take your time.
We
No
would
problem.
not.
Take your time.
We would not exist if it were not for, of course, our volunteers, who are wonderful. They do this because they care. But mostly, if we did not have contributors who generously gave out of their pocket, whether it's $5 or $5,000, it all matters. It all adds up. We have individuals and we have corporate sponsors whom we are greatly appreciative of, and we wanted to say thank you again tonight. I know at the end of the year sometimes people have in their budget maybe a little bit of extra that they want to allocate before the year end. Like I said, we are a tax-deductible organization. We greatly appreciate any contributions. Those can be made via our Facebook page, Currituck Kids, our website. There's donate buttons. Plus, somebody can just send a check if they prefer to not handle this electronically. if Currituck Kids is not your organization of choice, I understand that. But I do ask that you donate to whatever group is dear to your heart. We are also registered, recognized, and vetted through GuideStar.org, a national organization that tracks charities such as Currituck Kids. Melissa has some brochures for you. I know a handful of you before me are familiar with Currituck Kids, and we appreciate all that you do for us. For those who are not so familiar, because we have busy lives day to day, please take time to review that information, pass it on if you're familiar, and if anybody has any questions in the future, please send us a message via our Facebook page. There's all kinds of information for emails, messages, and a phone number. And I just want to say again, thank you to the county for your support. We greatly appreciate it. And above all, the children appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett.
Thank you, April.
Tim Cornet.
Good evening. Good evening. It's Cornet, but
I'm
Cornet
sorry.
sounds
Sorry.
fancy.
Okay.
That works for me, too. Okay. Good evening. My name's Tim Cornet. I'm here representing my family and the Harris family at 2335 Ocean Pearl Road, Corova Beach. This is in reference to PB 17-10, the parking on the boat lots. We own a boat lot at 821 Dolphin Lane. Its sole purpose is parking boats and cars as we commute from Knott's Island to Corova Beach. The property was purchased 26 years ago, and the land would not perk, meaning the land was not suitable for a septic system, and therefore no building permit would be issued to build a home. While no dwelling was built, the land was certainly improved upon. There's a $50,000+ boathouse and boat lifts. There's electricity. There's running water. Street light, piers, bulkhead, and a maintenance shed. The property is fenced, landscaped, and maintained. At any given time, there is up to 5 vehicles licensed, legal, and registered on this lot. The Commission's ordinance to limit the number of vehicles allowed on this property feel like directly violates and infringes on our rights to use and quiet enjoyment of the property as intended and designed. Please don't pass this amendment in its current form, and if it were to pass, please address where do we park, because if it's in the roads, you may not appreciate the roads of Corova Beach, but they're unpaved, and that would potentially interfere and hinder the wild horse tours, who would make less money, which means lost in revenue for the county. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Cornet. Lance Boyd.
My name's Caroline Schloss. I'm not Lance Boyd, but
Wasn't sure she'd get here on time, so I wrote my name down.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I'm a Knott's Island resident. I am also a Knott's Island volunteer, a suspended Knott's Island volunteer firefighter, as well as a community. I do other volunteer work. I'm a Currituck County Community Emergency Responder, Virginia Beach Community Emergency Responder, 1st Precinct Police Department volunteer, as well as a Project Lifesaver and electronic search specialist. I'm in the 11th hour, so I'm liking to start anew, sir. I have 3 questions for the board and its affiliated members. 1, we're temporarily suspended. I would like to request. I understand the other fire departments receive contracts and extensions. We don't have one. I would like to request an extension. As a standing secretary, board member, and representative of the fire department, I'd like to formally request an extension between the Currituck County Committee and its operating managers. Yes or no? If that answer is no, sir, I'd like to request a meeting between the fire department and the commission board in order to negotiate this. If that's a yes, great. We look forward to doing that. If that is a no, sir, then I need to know whether we need to dissolve the fire department or not. I'm basically up here to try to get us in a position where we can assist calls to serve the community. We've been in limbo 30 days. We are suspended from operating services through no fault of any one person's. It's a joint effort. That's why I'm up here, because what I have gotten or read and acquired so far, sir, says it is a joint effort. And I think there's been some neglect on one side, maybe neglect on the other. Either way, that's what I am here to formally do as the secretary. My name is on that contract. Your name is on that contract, as well as the gentleman behind me who I'm not leaving out. I would like to know if I could get an answer to one of those three questions so that we can either resume helping assist service calls on the island in the event they need help, or if we can arrange a meeting to discuss negotiations or not, or if we just need to dissolve the fire department that was established in 1960. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Klotz.
Schloss. That's okay. You call me whatever you like.
I apologize.
Late, mostly. I'm sorry. Apologies for that.
Thank you. I would call Heidi White.
Sorry to say there's not a whole lot of Knots Islanders here again. I do have the petition. I think it's a few more pages than what y'all were faxed last week, so I did want to leave this for you. I want to say approximately 60 to maybe 90, I'm not sure, I haven't counted, all wanting paid firefighters on the island. There's a slot for volunteer paid. Everybody wants paid. I think part of the problem, and after going back, after being here last couple weeks, and I'm seeing a lot of citizens not really understanding on Knots Island where we are we in a gray area, what's going on, what have we not been told about, what have we been told that's not correct. I can understand the citizens. They're a little upset because I've been told by a couple of them, but fairly prominent, that they're under the impression that a tax for us to have paid firefighters would strictly come from Fruitville, Knots Island. However, we would be singled out. I've been told since then that's not correct. I don't know if it was misinformation originally or if y'all did a little research and found that it will come from the county as a whole, which will make a big difference. I also did want to ask, we have requested, somebody has requested a meeting of all the citizens on Knots Island concerning this issue, and if any commissioners would be in a position to attend to answer some of your side of the questions that will be brought up. Is that a possibility for commissioners to attend a meeting with all the citizens of Knots Island concerning this?
I'm actually going to make a statement here in a little bit.
Oh, okay. And as I said, most of the citizens that I've heard that only want the volunteers is because of a money issue, which I'm hoping that's something that will be able to be ironed out. I can understand where they're coming from. This has been, I guess, and as I told y'all last time, I was really not happy about hearing about the lapse in coverage on Facebook. I strongly feel like it should have been posted on our marquee that sits in front of the fire station as every citizen drives onto that island. I was not really happy with how that all panned out. I'm not really understanding yet, and I guess we'll have meetings to understand why it is the volunteers do not want paid firefighters to assist them. That's something I can't hash, and I don't really understand that at all, except if it's supervision, if it's accountability. I'm not really sure why they don't want paid firefighters other than the money. We have obviously a leadership issue over there. We have some integrity with past volunteers or chiefs or captains, whoever they were. There's obviously a communication issue with the citizens of Knots Island, and accountability has not always been where I felt it should have been, where now we're at a problem. We have a couple issues here, and we can't even really hold some of these people accountable, some of the things that are happening. I'm sure y'all know what I'm talking about. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. White. If I will call Debbie Slaughter.
Good evening. I'm a former volunteer firefighter from Knots Island. I have a few questions to answer or to ask. Number one is, why are we putting out money on a tanker that in 2013 was not functional when my own house burnt down. They had trouble getting the tanker going. The tanker is no longer available to us. It's out for repairs. We could have bought a new tanker for that, for the money that's being paid. We have lack of leadership. They released it where all the residents, have to be a resident of Knox Island to be on the fire department. When I was there, you had to be at least be able to get to the firehouse within 8 minutes. Now, the former chief lives in Moyock. We have firefighters in Norfolk, Virginia Beach. There's no way. My house burnt in 30 minutes. Complete down in 30 minutes. Now, had that tanker been running, my house might have been saved, some of it. Now I'm finding out this tanker, I stepped down because of medical issues. Now I'm finding out this tanker's out to be repaired. It's ridiculous. Absolutely, totally ridiculous we're spending that much money. And a new tanker could have been bought. Now we don't have response. We have 2 paid firefighters, 2 paid paramedics. 4 people cannot respond to a fire and put it out efficiently. I have all the respect for my brothers and sisters on the fire department, but right now, they're not getting the respect that they need. They don't have the support they need either way. And it's not fair to any of us on the island. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to the residents. And something needs to be done, period. I don't want to see anybody else's house burn. I watched mine burn as a firefighter. Do you know how heartbreaking that is to lose everything? And it's not fair to anybody. That tanker should have never been put out for repair. A new tanker should have been bought for the amount they're paying. And now to find out a title to another fire truck was given to this people to get the repairs done, so we're out another piece of equipment? Really? There needs to be some investigation done. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Slaughter. That's currently all I have signed up for public comment. Was there anyone else that would like to speak? And with that, I'll close the public comments. Moving on to public hearings. Public hearing and action consideration of the sale of property pursuant to GS 158-7.1 Maple Commerce Park Lot Number 1. And with that, I'll hand it over to Mr. McCree.
Mr. Chairman, pursuant to Chapter 158 of the North Carolina General Statutes, a county may acquire and develop and hold property for the promotion and location of business and industry within the county. The county has done so out in the Maple area in what we call Maple Commerce Park. Before you tonight is a public hearing that's required by statute prior to the conveyance of property held for commercial development. And we have a party, Cafferty Enterprises, LLC, that the county is negotiating with on a contract to convey Lot 1 at Maple Commerce Park to this particular company. You have in your agenda package 2 resolutions. The first resolution will be subject to the public hearing in a moment. That resolution, following the public hearing, will provide for the conveyance and authorize the conveyance of Lot 1 in Maple Commerce Park to Cafferty Enterprises. I would note in Section 2 there's some placeholding language which I may recommend be modified depending on comments made during the course of the public hearing. The second resolution that's contained in your agenda package that you will be considering after the public hearing and after your consideration of the first resolution is a resolution by this board sitting in your capacity as the governing board for Currituck County, the declarant of restrictive covenants for the Maple Commerce Park. A previous board placed upon this Commerce Park certain covenants that require a certain standard of development within Maple Commerce Park, and part of those standards requires that an applicant who intends to build on a lot within Maple Commerce Park submit their plan, site plan, and elevations of a proposed building to the county for review and approval. The applicant, Cafferty Enterprises, LLC, has done that, and from a staff level, we felt that it might make sense to allow for the County Technical Review Committee, which typically looks at development projects that come to you for approval, to review the site plan, proposed plans for the building, and the elevations of the proposed building, and make a recommendation to you as to whether this site plan specifications and building elevations comply with the county's restrictive covenants. Contained in your agenda package is a memorandum from planning staff on behalf of the Technical Review Committee, finding that indeed the proposed site plan specifications and the elevations will comply with the restrictive covenants, and a recommendation then would be that you adopt that resolution following the public hearing and consideration and adoption of the first resolution. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that you open the public hearing for any comments at this time.
And with that, I'll open the public hearing. I do not have anyone signed up for this public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to this? And with that, I will close the public hearing.
Let me at least, I'm going to go through the resolution then, Mr. Chairman, just as to what it's going to provide for. The resolution then would provide that following the public hearing that the county would propose and is authorized to convey Lot 1 at Maple Commerce Park. That is a lot of approximately 6 acres in size. There would be I would suggest modifying Section 2 to provide from information we've received from the proposed purchaser of Lot 1, Cafferty Enterprises, LLC. That is, first of all, there would be anticipated the creation and increase of jobs within the county from the location of Cafferty Enterprises, LLC's Property Management Service Center on that site, and that there would be expected an average hourly wage of $11 per hour. Section 3 also provides that the price that will be paid by Cafferty Enterprises, LLC for the acquisition of the lot will be $150,000, payable at closing, and an acknowledgement and recognition that although the county's tax appraised value for this particular lot is $189,300, it will be anticipated from improvements that will be made from this property over a period of time, an increase in tax revenue that is more than sufficient to bridge that gap between the closing price and the tax appraised value of this particular lot. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions. I would note one other thing. With regard to the second resolution, I'll just go ahead and say there is a provision in the second resolution that says that the site plans and elevation are approved with the exception of what is shown on the site plan of a 40-foot wide easement extending from Lot 1 across what is now a county open space area for a second driveway connection to the road system in Maple Commerce Park. With further discussion, it appears that what would be appropriate and suggested to the county is that we're going to do a recombination plat that will increase the size, slightly increase the size of Lot 1 to bring this drive then into what will become part of Lot 1, cure any easement need, and cure any concern about going across county open space. So with those comments, I'll be glad to answer any questions of the board.
Mr. McCray, I have just one question, and please forgive me for not looking exactly where Lot 1 is located in the Maple Park section, but does it fall anywhere near the airport overlay, so there's a challenge with the number of persons that can be in that facility?
I don't believe there's any anticipation of any concern with regard to airport issues. Lot 1 is the first lot on the left as you drive past the county animal shelter.
Okay.
Right before you get to the intersection, the first intersection there within the park.
But it doesn't fall in that overlay where we're limited to the persons that congregate, or that was just, it's something that just came up to me today, and I just wanted to clarify that it doesn't fall under that.
If the question is this lot within the airport, that entire area is within the airport overlay, but I'm trying to understand your question.
Does it limit the number of persons?
I probably have to answer that it is, there will be less people occupying this facility than there would be, say, the YMCA.
Okay.
So I'm not anticipating that being an issue.
To put that out there to check.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. McCree? With that, open the floor for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve this resolution for the county to convey this property to Caverdy Enterprises.
Would that be to include the changes prescribed by Mr. McCree?
Yes.
2 and 3?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the second resolution.
Gonna stay on the roll.
Yes, we do.
I'll make a motion that we approve PB 1710 tax amendment with the adoption of the
That would be the second resolution
this.
on this particular item, which is a resolution of the Board of Commissioners declaring approving plans for the improvements submitted by Caffrey Enterprises LLC.
All right, sorry, jumped ahead. That's the motion that I'm making to approve.
And with that, they also prescribe change of the 40-foot section.
I would suggest that it's fine to leave that as is in the resolution because it talked about in the resolution that it would be further consideration by the board. But that issue will be cured without running by condemnation plat.
Outstanding.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Mr. Cafferty, welcome to Currituck.
We're excited to have some more development in the Maple Park area.
Moving on, PB 17-06 Miller Homes and Buildings LLC request for a zoning map amendment of 1.05 acres from agricultural to mixed residential located at 155 Survey Road, tax map 15, lot 47B, Moyock Township. With that, I'll hand it over to Ms. LaCicero.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant, Mr. Miller, contacted me today in requesting a deferral of this application to bring his project more into alignment with the existing Unified Development Ordinance and the Land Use Plan. The board has the discretion to approve this deferral for up to 6 months, and staff can work with Mr. Miller on his application to try to attempt to address any inconsistencies.
Ms. LaCicero, did he give a time frame for the extension? Did he want 2 months, a month, 6 months? Did he give any time frame?
He did not specify a time frame, but I think he's going to be making significant enough changes that it would need to get back to the planning board. So I would say at least 3 month deferral, if not the full 6 month.
Well, I mean,
He asked for a 6 month.
Well, I'll make a motion that we accept the 6 month deferral for Mr. Miller.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Mrs. Powers, we're not having the public hearing on that this evening.
I just did have a question. Would you put up a new sign when there was a new meeting then?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Moving on to PB 17-10, Currituck County Text Amendment Request to amend Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 4, Use Standards 2.3.3, General Standards and Limitations, to update accessory uses that are allowed on a lot prior to development of a principal use. With that, I'll hand it over to Ms. LaCicero.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What you have tonight before you is a text amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance to allow parking in the SFR, which is the Single Family Remote District, the off-road area, on a vacant lot. How this came about, staff was doing a code enforcement sweep of the off-road area, and the way our Unified Development Ordinance is written currently, vacant parking of vehicles is not allowed on a vacant lot. That you would need an improvement like a single-family home in the off-road area. You would need to have a home to be able to park a car. Since then, we sent out code enforcement violation notices, and I'm sure several of you have received numerous calls and feedback. We received lots of feedback about this issue. So this is a staff-initiated text amendment. We're making a few changes just in the layout of the text of accessory uses and structures that are allowed. So in here we are adding the language. We're breaking it down. Instead of listing it out in a sentence, we're changing it and we're listing it out in A, B, C, and D. But then in E, we're adding the language parking or storage of up to 2 licensed and registered vehicles and 1 trailer in the SFR, the single-family remote, which is the off-road area, the SFR zoning district, provided the use does not constitute parking of heavy trucks or trailers as regulated in Section 4.3.3S. So this is the language that the board asked that staff bring back to them after the feedback we received from the code enforcement violation notifications. This did go before planning board, and it did. That is, the planning board did approve this, and they added the language of 1 boat trailer, or they specified that it should read 1 boat trailer. But they did approve the text amendment. They recommend approval of the text amendment, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Cicero, I do have one question. Looking at it, I just caught in a strike through that we took out storage sheds. Wasn't that allowed before, or is that allowed somewhere else?
It's still allowed. We struck it out. Instead of that list that we made there, it's now it's structured as a list. It's down under B, a single storage shed for the upkeep of a lot.
Right.
We just changed how that was organized just to make it a little bit easier to read and not just a one sentence with a line of allowable uses.
Okay, I got it now. Thank you.
Any further questions for Ms. LaCicero? With that, I'll open the public hearing. Currently, I don't have anyone signed up for the public hearing. Did someone come in late and would like to speak to this topic? And with that, I will close the public hearing. And with that, I will also open the floor for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve PB 17 because it's consistent with the land use plan's goal to preserve the traffic carrying capacity of existing roadways. Goal number 8 of the land use plan and development goals by encouraging alternative transportation to the off-road area by allowing Knott's Island and mainland residents to store vehicles on vacant lots to be able to recreate in the off-road area after arriving by boat. It is also reasonable and in the public interest because it continues a historic practice in the off-road area of storing a vehicle on a vacant lot for property owners who do not live in the off-road area and be able to recreate in the off-road area. With that, I would ask for one change in the language to item E, remove the 2-vehicle designation and allow for storage of vehicles that are properly licensed and registered, and also to allow for 1 boat trailer or a utility trailer of up to 16 foot in length.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to new business, consideration and approval of bid award for the Corolla Beautification Project. And with that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Scanlon.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This is a project that the commissioners had asked staff to work on. It is a enhancement of landscaping along NC 12 in the Corolla area. This project was contracted out with Laughing Gull Landscape Architects. We've had a meeting with the Corolla residents to get public input on the plan. The plan has been placed out for bids, and tonight we're bringing those bids to you. We received 2 bids, and we are recommending the Board of Commissioners approve the bid with Currituck Caretakers, LLC, and the base amount of $224,985. I would like to point out to the board in your narrative with the package, It talks about 6 specific areas that we have done some additional landscaping enhancements. Because we have construction ongoing at the Ocean Sands wastewater plant, the specific section that's referenced as the Crown Point wastewater plant section will be lifted out of the first contract so that that landscaping installation does not interfere with the construction of the wastewater plant. So we are asking that we will contract this contract actually in 2 pieces. We'll do the 5 sections now, and the last section there being from the wastewater plant will be initiated with Currituck caretakers once we have established the front of that construction site again so that we don't interfere with the construction, ongoing construction and the landscaping being installed. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Do we have an idea when their anticipated start date would be and completion?
Well, if the board approves it tonight, we hope to be under contract by the end of the week, and then it'll be just a matter of when they can start ordering the materials.
Great.
Outstanding. Any further questions from Mr. Scanlon? With that, I'll open the floor for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on, ordinance amending Section 9-2 of the Currituck County Code of Ordinances to prohibit use of vapor products in county buildings, on county property, and in county motor vehicles. And with that, I'll hand it over to Mr. McCree.
Mr. Chairman, counties are authorized by general statutes, of course, to regulate county property and activities that occur on and within county property, and also specifically to prohibit smoking within county buildings, on county grounds, or in county motor vehicles. Pursuant to that authority, in April of 1993, the Board of Commissioners adopted an ordinance prohibiting smoking in most all of the county buildings. And then the next time the ordinance was amended was September of 2009, when the Board of Commissioners modified that ordinance and provided that smoking and use of tobacco products was prohibited in all county buildings, on county grounds, and within county motor vehicles. Now, with the change of technology over time and e-cigarettes and vaping, there appears now to be the need to further modify and enhance that ordinance. And so what's before you tonight is a restructuring of an ordinance that basically has been in effect since 1993, and then to also prohibit specifically the use of vapor products in county buildings, on county grounds, and in county motor vehicles. As proposed for the restructuring of the ordinance, we would now add a definition section to define what smoking means, as set out on page 1 of the proposed ordinance, line 29. Line 31 would add a definition of tobacco product and accept from the definition any product that's been approved by the United States Food and Drug Administration for sale as a tobacco cessation product. And then at line 40, add a definition for vapor product, which means any non-combustible product that employs a mechanical heating element, battery, or electronic circuit, regardless of shape or size, that can be used to heat a liquid, nicotine, or other liquid solution in a vapor cartridge. What would be accepted from that definition is similar to the exception for tobacco product, and that's any type of instrument or product that's regulated by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Proceeding on then on page 2 to line 6, this language has essentially been again in existence since 1993 and at least since 2009, just a restructuring and editing of some language, but it will continue to provide that in any building and on any grounds that are owned, leased as lessor, or the area leased as lessee by the county, you may not smoke or use tobacco or vaping products. Likewise, those types of products may not be utilized or used in a passenger carrying vehicle owned, leased, or otherwise controlled by the county and assigned permanently or temporarily to a county employee or an agency for official county business. And then strikes in line 14 a previous definition of tobacco products, since a more enhanced definition would be provided with the adoption of this ordinance. That is simply the ordinance. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have and remind you that in order for this ordinance to be adopted at this your first reading, it must be adopted unanimously.
So, Mr. McCree, basically what we're doing is adding vaping to the current ordinance.
That's exactly what you're doing. You already have a prohibition on the use of tobacco products in county
Just
buildings.
say that.
Well, I could, but I wanted to make sure that you and the using public understood exactly what it is that was being modified.
But if I understand you correctly, you're also saying county buildings and grounds.
Yes. Which has been in effect
has
since
not
2000.
been enforced.
Apparently not. It's been in effect, though, since 2009.
So I certainly think if this passes tonight, that we need to get a lot of signage out and make people aware that there's no smoking on the grounds.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any further questions? And with that, I'll open the floor for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the ordinance amending Section 9.2 of the Currituck County Code of Ordinances.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on, our next agenda item will be the resolution of the Currituck County Board of Commissioners establishing Currituck County Fire and Emergency Services Department for the provision of enhanced fire and rescue services in the Knott's Island Fire Response District. With that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It might be easy to, I guess, start talking about this resolution. As was mentioned tonight, there is a lot of confusion and misinformation out about where we stand right now with fire services in Knott's Island. So one of the things I would think is to comment about what this resolution is not. This resolution is not a disclosure of a preference of how the Board of Commissioners anticipate today and in the future to provide fire services to Knott's Island. It is not showing a leaning towards whether it is a volunteer service or a paid service or a combination service. In fact, for the most part, this resolution is not speaking to how fire services in the future will be provided to the Knott's Island community. What it does do is, in insurance, business insurance and homeowners insurance, insurance companies allow a credit for fire coverage on your policy based on the rating of the volunteer fire department or the fire department providing that service. Whatever rate they get equates to a credit that reflects to lower premiums on, again, homeowners insurance and business insurance. As Currituck County, the government currently does not have a recognized fire department by the Office of the Fire Marshal and the State Department of Insurance. In our conversations with them, they have shared this resolution with us and has asked the Board of Commissioners that, being since in the interim, we are providing fire service response to the citizens of Knott's Island, that in order for them to continue to receive the benefit of this credit to homeowners insurance policy and business policies, that it is necessary for the Office of the State Fire Marshal to recognize Currituck County, and specifically the Currituck County Department of Fire and EMS, as a fire department under state of North Carolina. It does not recognize us as the sole source provider. It doesn't say that we're the only provider, and it certainly is not an exclusive recognition. In fact, at the bottom of it, of the resolution itself, it just simply states to recognize the department to establish and aid in the provision of fire services. And so the intended purpose of this resolution, again, is to make sure that the credit that's extended on insurance policies continues intact while the Board of Commissioners continue to deliberate and move forward with how ultimately you would like to see fire services provided at Knott's Island. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have about this resolution.
Mr. Scanlon, one question with regards to the State Fire Marshal. Have they made any comments to how the county is currently handling this or providing the services? Are they fine with it? Are there any concerns? Or
well, they have made a couple comments. It was, I think it's been quoted in at least one or two media sources that the State Fire Marshal would be coming to Currituck County to help mediate the issue. Their comment to both parties is that is not a role they perform. The state fire marshal is not coming to Currituck County. They are not going to insert themselves in this conversation. They are leaving it at the discretion of the parties involved to work through whatever issues may or may not have. They did comment in that email message to us that unfortunately, what is occurring now is not unusual across the state and the country. It is getting more demanding all the time for volunteers to be in a position to freely give up their time for community service. And volunteer fire departments across the nation are struggling to recruit and retain good people that continue to volunteer in departments. And because of that, smaller fire departments across the nation are struggling to be able to keep up their membership. And so, unfortunately, this is not unique to them. They have provided, in fact, they provided the nature of this resolution. They have provided us some counsel on how other communities have worked through the issue, very similar issues that they've experienced. So, not that they're directly engaging, but they did share with us that it's not unusual in today's environment.
Thank you. Any further questions for Mr. Scanlon? With that, before we vote on this resolution, I'd like to make a statement. As many of you are aware, the Knott's Island Fire Station has undergone several important changes in the past month. On November 8, 2017, the Knott's Island Volunteer Fire Department informed the county that the station's volunteers would no longer respond to fires or other emergencies in their community. As a result, Currituck County staffed the Knott's Island Fire Station with paid county employees from the Department of Fire Emergency Medical Services. These employees are duly certified as paramedics and firefighters. Since the volunteers' withdrawal, Currituck County has maintained a staff of 4 fire EMS members at Knott's Island on a 24/7 basis and will continue to do so. Through taking over the Knott's Island Fire Station was not the county's original intent, the Board of Commissioners views this situation as an opportunity to increase public safety and provide peace of mind to the residents and property owners of Knott's Island. Everyone living or owning property in Knott's Island can be assured of a timely and appropriate response to a structure fire or other emergency. At this time, the county views this arrangement as an interim solution. The Board of Commissioners will discuss long-term plans and will engage the citizens of Knott's Island as we move forward. We have the utmost confidence in our fire EMS staff, and we will establish a professional and effective system. In doing so, Knott's Island will not see a change in its fire insurance rating. A long-term solution may or may not include the creation of a fire service tax district for Knott's Island. This has not been determined and is something the Board of Commissioners will need to discuss. The situation with the volunteer fire department arose as a contract dispute, but in reality, an intervention by the county has been needed for some time. With Knott's Island being a small community geographically removed from the Currituck's mainland, the fire station has suffered from an extremely low number of volunteers for several years. We have been told that currently only 10 active volunteer firefighters live in Knott's Island. This lack of volunteer manpower places many properties and lives in danger. Our fire and EMS staff has documented several incidents over the past 3 years in which the volunteers had zero or minimal response to emergency calls. Also during this time, Knott's Island volunteer officials have made written requests asking the county to provide additional manpower. Therefore, we feel the time is right for the county to step in and take the lead in Knott's Island. The Board of Commissioners is committed to providing a high level of public safety for every community, and we will not allow Knott's Island to receive inadequate fire protection. However, the county has enjoyed a long relationship with the volunteers of Knott's Island, and we do not want that partnership to end. We invite all current volunteers and other interested residents to work with us by volunteering with Currituck Fire EMS. A combination system of paid firefighters and community volunteers will be a tremendous asset to Knott's Island. To find out how you can volunteer with Currituck Fire EMS, contact the department at 232-7746. We have a volunteer coordinator, Ray Azaro, who will help you get started. Thank you. And with that, I'll open the floor for a motion.
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to request for extension of preliminary plat Sligo Preserve, and with that, I will hand it over to Ms. LaCicero.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In November, Mr. Mark Bissell submitted a request for an extension of preliminary plat for Sligo Reserve. Sligo Reserve is a 20-lot subdivision located on Shawborough Road, just south of the intersection with Currituck Highway, with the map on here in front of you. Typically, these are extended. The board has a discretion to extend this for up to 2 years. Mr. Bissell is requesting a 1-year extension on this approval of the preliminary plat. He has noted that there were issues with the Army Corps of Engineers in getting the correct delineation for this property. So I'll take any questions on this project or the extension request.
Which road is this on?
This is actually on Shawborough Road and Currituck Highway.
Okay.
It is just north of Equestrian Downs. Mm-hmm.
Across the street.
Yep.
Fire station right here.
Got it.
And Equestrian Downs right through here. So it's 20-lot subdivision right there.
Where all the turkey hang out.
Any further questions for Ms. LaCicero? With that, I'll open the floor for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the extension for up to 1 year.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to board appointments, Tourism Advisory Board.
Mr. Chairman, my appointment at this time, Mike Martin has served the county well. I appreciate his helping the county in many ways, and his expertise has been duly noted. I cannot reapprove him due to his timed out. With that, I'd like to recommend Ben Beasley of Lower Currituck to replace him.
Okay.
He is a business owner and a longtime resident.
Second.
Second?
Yep.
Second for Mr. White. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to reappointment for the Planning Board.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reappoint John McCauley to the Planning Board.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to reappointment to Board of Adjustment.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reappoint Troy Breathwaite to the Planning Board of Adjustments.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to consent agenda.
Motion for approval.
I second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to Commissioner's Report. Mr. Hall?
The holidays are coming up, and I want to have a chance to see many of you between now and then. Drive 5 miles an hour slower. Take one less drink. It's more important that you arrive late than not arrive at all. I want to wish everybody a happy holiday, a happy New Year, a Merry Christmas, the words that we all should be able to say to each other. Peace and joy. All our troops come home safely. All our public safety folks, our teachers. So many folks in Currituck and around the country and around the world. Good night.
Mr. White?
Well, I don't have much to follow up on that one. That was a good one. Thank you, Mike. I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood. I see we got at least one or two people from Corova left out there, that what we approved tonight allows you to, we took the two-car rule away. So for those of you that aren't here that were watching it, you can now park more than one car on your lot so long as it's licensed. And other than that, I was glamping this past weekend in my RV with my son and watching TV, having coffee, and the only thing I could get was PBS and or And it is amazing, some of the programming on that. And they did a special on the estuaries and just how fragile our ecosystem is. And so, for me, just a reminder to think about what you put in the dirt, because it's going to end up in the water somewhere. And it's very important to us. So just think about what you do and have a safe holiday season.
Thank you, Mr. White. Commissioner Gilbert?
I just want to also wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, and just remember the reason for the season, and just enjoy the time with your friends and family, and just enjoy this glorious season.
Thank you. Mr. Beaumont?
Yes, it is that time of year, and I do wish everyone a Merry Christmas as well. And echoing Commissioner Hall, please everyone be safe, because there is a lot of families that go through tragedy this time of year. So also, the holidays tend to also be a season of where folks who are not as fortunate as others with family relationships, etc. Please, look after those that don't have anyone for the holidays, because sometimes that gets a little depressing. And then let's see, did attend the Currituck craft show this weekend, and I've had vendors tell me that this is the best year that they've ever seen, and just keep them coming back to Currituck. And then finally, in honor of Saturday, go Navy beat Army. Did I say that out loud? Nope.
Miss Etheridge?
I also would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and I'd like to thank my fellow board members for all of us having a good year, and I'd like to thank the staff for all their hard work. I don't think we could do what we do if it wasn't for the staff, and we certainly appreciate your hard work, and we wish all of the staff that work with us daily a Merry Christmas. And whatever you do, don't forget to tell your loved ones that you love them, because you don't ever know when you might not have them.
Thank you, Miss Etheridge. Mr. Payment?
I've been already.
Oh, that's right. You did. I'm sorry.
I mixed it up.
No, you got no. I am evidently them. Oh. Well, first of all, I'll ask the county manager in his report if he can. If he can't, that's fine. To give us some kind of update on the conditions, the drive conditions at the trash sites. I'm getting a lot of phone calls. I think there's a contract or something getting ready to fix the roads up and do some paving. I'm hearing it through Lower Currituck and Charborough. But other than that, we just want to reiterate what everybody said out there. Just remember our country in your prayers, and the troops overseas that are keeping this freedom for us, and our first responders. And with Currituck Kids come up, and they talk about the kids and the ones. Just keep everybody in your thoughts and prayers this holiday season, and give where you can give, support, prayers. It's all good. And be safe out there. And again, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thank you for this board for a great year, and the staff. Look forward to the upcoming year. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful 2018.
If I could, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. I hope you all get to spend time with your loved ones, friends, family. And I want to give a special thank you to this board right here. We accomplished a lot of things this year. A lot of folks thought we couldn't do it. We all have our differences. We leave them at the door. And I think the reason we do that is everyone here wants best for Currituck County. And it's a privilege to be here. It really is a privilege. Thank you again for the opportunity to serve as chairman again for another year. It really is an honor to be around you guys, and I'm a better person for being surrounded by you guys.
And Mr. Chairman, please make sure you maintain your attire for all these meetings.
I'll do my best.
Need 24 more seats.
I'll do my best. Thank you all so very much. And with that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Scanlon for County Manager's report.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if it wasn't obvious, the Board of Commissioners will not be having your second meeting in December, which is the basis, I guess, for all the well wishes tonight, that historically, with the holidays coming up, the board has generally not had their second meeting, and this board has followed suit. So your next meeting will not be until after the first of the year. To Commissioner Payment's request, we have signed a contract. We have been getting some complaints for a while on the overall condition of the convenience centers. We have executed a contract with the new vendor. That contract has been executed. I'll have to get for you an actual schedule of when they plan on being at the various different sites, but each site will see additional rock, additional grading, but an effort will be made to bring up to a better standard each of the sites, and that contract has actually already been executed.
And with that, I would move
Mr.
to...
Chairman,
oh,
one
yes,
moment.
yes.
Mr. Scanlon, I know with the passing of the owner at the Panther Landing, has there been any disruption with the progress in going forward with, I know you put that in your manager's
There hasn't
report.
been any disruptions for that reason.
Okay.
That lease agreement was executed prior, and so it will survive and go into the estate, and it's still a valid lease. We brought to the board and got approval, an amendment to the special use permit for the new area that's going to be constructed. We want to go back and address the existing area, to do some improvements there and to get a better overall integrated site. And so that's the work that the engineer has actually been undertaking. And so as soon as they finish that, you'll see work start to begin on that. But there's been no delay because of the lease.
Thank you.
And with that, I will recess the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners and move to go into closed session pursuant to GS 143-318.11A3 to consult with the county attorney and to preserve the county client privilege regarding the matter captioned RF London, Inc. versus Currituck County.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you all for coming this evening. Thank you.